Hello. Let's talk a little bit about how much you're going to make by selling your drugs in the UK if you're making them outside the UK. Now, the UK is more complicated than many other countries because of the way the NHS works. So let's actually just talk about this in a little bit of detail. The NHS serves, in effect, as a government body and as a huge insurance company, if you like. They pay all the bills for healthcare, for hospitals, and for community. They pay the GPs, the community doctors, and the community pharmacies, and they pay for pretty much everything. When it comes to generic drugs, they have a set amount that they reimburse pharmacies, and they call that in the UK the drug tariff. That's freely available. You can find it online, you can download it, but it is a red herring because it's not the amount that you as a manufacturer will be paid. So let's actually work this through gradually. So let's assume that the NHS are paying the pharmacy £10 for the drug that pharmacy has given a patient. So the pharmacy, when they've given the drug out to the patient, they will send a copy or the original prescription, which is a paper document, up to the PPA, the Prescription Pricing Authority in Newcastle, who collect the information for the government. And they also work out how much to pay the pharmacist each month. So they'll be looking at that amount, £10. The pharmacist obviously has to pay the wholesaler for supplying the drug in the first place. And in most countries, it's a standard ratio between the £10, the reimbursement rate, and the amount that the pharmacy pays the wholesaler. So it might be set in law in some countries as to what percentage that is. In the UK, it's entirely up to the negotiation between the pharmacy and the wholesaler. So it can be anywhere from a penny up to more than £10. So there are occasions when it's very hard to find the drug and it's in shortage and you can't get it and it's difficult to get, and the price goes above the reimbursement rates, which means that the pharmacist keeps the patient happy but loses money. So that amount is so variable, you have to understand it, and you have to understand, even if you're supplying not the wholesaler, but you're supplying a generic manufacturer, and it's up to them to do the selling, you have to be aware of the amount. Otherwise, you're going to find that your client is pushing the price down, or your affiliate is saying, no, we're not being paid that anymore. So you cannot expect that £10 reimbursement drug tariff amount to be your guide. Okay, so that amount varies. The other thing that is easier to understand is the amount the wholesaler pays the manufacturer. That tends to be between 10 and 15% less than the amount the wholesaler receives for it from the pharmacy. So let's actually jump over and have a look at some real examples here. So first of all, I'm going to go into a website called Wave Data Live, which is at wavedata.net. It covers the last 35 days. So for most products, it will probably be all you need. But I'm going to look at a product that's slightly more complicated than that. So I'm going to look at pregabalin and see what's going on there. And I'm going to choose just one pack, the 100 caps, 84 caps in a pack. And I can see that we've got 63 lines of information about it that we can look at. And let's initially, when the data appears, let's whiz straight down to the bottom and look at the pink lines. These are the drug tariff. These are the amount the government pays the pharmacy. So if I go back to my picture here, it's that amount there. It's the amount the NHS is paying the pharmacy. So you can see that that's £96.60 for pharmacists, and it will be the same for dispensing doctors once you meet them. All the other amounts on this page, whether they're blue or white or brown or green, are the amounts that the pharmacist is paying the wholesaler. So back to my image again. So they are that amount, but occasionally the pharmacy is actually paying a manufacturer direct. So they're paying the wholesaler or they're paying the manufacturer. Let's go back to the data and actually have a look at that again. So you can see the cheapest price a pharmacy can buy this pack of pregabalin is £1.83, which is considerably more then the £96 the pharmacy will be paid by the government. So the pharmacist is making about £94 by supplying this product, if they manage to get it really cheap through AAH, which is one of the big UK wholesalers. But you can see the prices do vary enormously. So if we go up here, we've got some prices that are actually £96.60. The pharmacist will make nothing if he buys at that price. But they do vary enormously. And that's quite standard in the UK. This product is probably a bit extreme. The prices are more variable than you'd normally find. Also, it's worth saying the colour coding we're using here is just the invoices are shown up in green. That's when we've actually collected an invoice from a pharmacist or a dispensing doctor. And the brown ones are the dispensing doctors themselves. And they are, in effect, a doctor's surgery which has a pharmacy in it, or they call it a dispensary rather than a pharmacy, but it functions in the same way. So we can see the cheapest a pharmacist can buy pregabalin caps 184 is £1.83, and the most expensive is £96.60. So the amount that you, as a manufacturer, would receive is enormously variable here. Now, normally this view, the last 35 days, is fine, but this product is so strange and the price variability is so enormous, sometimes you need to look a little bit deeper. So I'm going to go to another website called wavedata.biz, Pharma Touchstone it's called here, and log in here and try and get a little bit deeper into what's actually going on by looking back in time. So I'm going to go to the menu button. I've already got pregabalin set up there, and I want to look at average, maximum, min. I want to look at trends and see if the average price is doing anything strange over the last few months. So let's go down and find the right product. Whoops, let's do that again. Caps 184, that's the one. I can remove parallel imports because we're just looking at generics here. Maybe I'll just look at average to keep it simple, and maybe I'll just go for all initially and not worry too much about the different types of client. So £6, £7, £6, £7, £7, £17, £19. So there's a sudden jump up. There is something going on. Is it an availability problem? It may be. It may also be that the reimbursement price has been the same for a long time, and the suppliers, the wholesalers and manufacturers have decided to increase their prices because they don't think it looks like it's going to come down. If we put back in the pharmacists here, and we can put back in the dispensing doctors, let's see if it's variable for them. Well, the dispensing doctors are still getting a reasonable price on it, but the pharmacists are now paying £25 on average. So the prices are going up. And if we add in the minimum price, we can actually remove the average to keep it simple. So we've got dispensing doctors and pharmacies paying well over £2, which has risen as an absolute minimum. But obviously the average is closer to £20. So if you wanted to look at the very long term and understand what's going on there, there's a third website you can go to, which is actually called the BPPI, and that allows you to actually look at long-term trends over the last 10 years. Again, it's a subscription service, and this has got monthly amounts, monthly averages that I put in here for the average and the minimum. And I've actually clicked a button down here to turn that into a graph. So you can see over the last, actually it was launched in 2014, it started up at the reimbursement price of £69, and it's slowly come down over that time period, reached a minimum, and now it's starting to go back up again. Interestingly, the minimum hasn't yet gone up, but it looks like it might if the average is anything to go by. So that says to you as a manufacturer, there was quite a long period between the end of 2015 and fairly recently when you would be getting very little for your product in the UK. Now, if the price is going up again, it could be bouncing, which may be a temporary effect. So it might go up, stay up for 3 or 4 months and go back down again. So it might be worth thinking about long-term forecasting on this and trying to understand what's going on and getting someone to write reports for you. We're primarily about data, but from this you can see that this isn't so easy to understand. But at least having access to this information gives you information straight away about who your potential clients are and how much they might be willing to pay you. So for example, if I click on one of the wholesalers, it comes up and tells you who they are and where they are. So you could then try to make contact with them. They have at least got a phone number and address here. So hopefully that has been useful to you and given you a feel. If you want to know any more about the UK or about pricing in the UK, please get in touch with us. We do have contact numbers on all our websites. So if I go back here, get to that. So we've got Bulletin, we've got Ask a Question here. You could fill in the box and send us a link or a question, and we'd be very pleased to talk to you. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.